Welcome, viewers. Well, as some of you know, I've got this project going on with this modified Stratocaster guitar. As you know, I bought it. I stripped the paint off. It was black. I painted it a dark metallic gunmetal gray. And something about that I didn't like. So I stripped the paint off, and I started noticing some real subtle but pretty lines running through the wood here. I'm pretty certain the camera's not picking it up, but you can see these. So what I was going to do is maybe go with some kind of instead of a solid color, maybe make a like a tint where you can still see the wood grain in here. I've kind of sealed it up with some spar urethane, kind of dried out. I'm still going to have to sand it, you know, like maybe with a 500, 600 grit. But the purpose of this film, anyway, I'll get right to it, is to make a Faraday cage. Some of you know what that is and some don't, and for those that don't, I'll explain it to you. If you take the whole cavity of the guitar, where your pickups go, where your controls go, where your output jack goes, as you can see, I've lined it all with tin foil. And I've left a little tiny strip out here on the outside, because when I do the pick guard, and the pick guard lays down on here, it'll form a complete cavity in here that should shield some radio frequencies, or what they just call interference, that gives your single coils hum. I've never done one of these before. This is my first one, and I'm telling you that the way I'm doing it is not as good as doing it with copper, from what I've read, but it's better than not doing it at all, and it's probably better than the paint they use to do the same thing. So what I've wanted to show you was the easiest way is to take a piece of foil, and I use the heavy duty foil because it's a little bit better than the real thin papery stuff. You know, I feel like it probably does a little better job, whatever it's going to do, but it's easier to work with because it doesn't just rip when you pull on it like this. You want to get a nice, fairly straight edge, and get your scissors and cut you a little piece, about a strip about 1/4 of an inch wide, and I'll show you what that part is for. Now for the big cavities, you can kind of just eyeball and cut and squish it in there, but what I do is I put down a little bit of glue first to make it tacky, so that wherever I push it in there, it's going to stick. But you don't want to get too much glue up on this side, because then you start interfering with your conductance. You want to be able to touch over here with your voltmeter and over here and get continuity. So conductivity, whatever, you know, how you were going to say it. But anyway, the little strip like this will go, okay, you see how I've already lined this hole here, with the output jack hole. I've already lined it, and see there's a little piece sticking out. So that's what these little flat toothpicks are good for. You get just a little tiny touch of glue, and any place it's not really sticking, you just kind of put it in there, and by the time that glue dries, you're not going to have any problem with it at all. It wants to be a little feisty right now, but if that's the case, you just take a little something and kind of roll it up in that corner. It's pretty malleable. I mean, obviously it's tin foil, aluminum foil. And anyway, now that's lined. So what I want to do in order to make this edge right along here, that's going to come in contact with the pick guard, I take a little thin strip like this, and I kind of get an idea about where it's going to go. Snip it off right there. And I'll get the toothpick again, and just very easily on the edge right here, you can make yourself a little glue strip to stick to. That way, when you put the thing in here, you're not going to have all that sticking out because it'll be covered with the chrome piece. So now I take my little piece I cut, and you can cut it flush, you cut it at an angle, however you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. But what you want to do is put it about halfway over the line so that when you put this on here and stretch it, don't fold it yet. Let the glue dry. Don't come in here and go, okay, well I want to make the crease and push it down over the edge. You don't want to do that, because what you're going to do is you're going to make like a little piece of flashing that's going to connect the top to that. And you should be, I know they say to ground a wire through here, but your plate, your output jack plate, will be grounded to here because you're going to be grounded to all the pots and everything. Why they want you to do it, I don't know. I don't mess with it because I don't feel like it's necessary. Anyway, we'll go around and show you how really simple this is. Just make a little bead, like so. Maybe put, every now and then just touch the inside of it so that when that other piece gets on there, it'll have something to stick to. But you don't want to do a whole thing because then you run the chance of cutting off the circuit altogether, as if you were putting rubber. This is rubber, basically. When it dries, it's latex, so it does not conduct electricity. It's a tedious little job, but I'm a tedious little guy, you know. I'm old, I'm retired. I got nothing better to do. I've tried fishing, and fishing is wonderful. But I'll tell you what's better than fishing is catching. People say, hey man, you want to go fishing? No, not really. Somebody comes up and says, hey man, you want to go catch some fish? Yeah. Why, you know where there's some fish? Why, everybody knows where there's fish but me. You know, I never know where there's fish. Oh, H38, he knows where there's fish because he knows he knows Bass Boy up there in Tulsa. Bass Boy knows where all the fish are. Yeah, buddy. That's my man Dart. Okay, we're going to take this piece here and say go across here with it. And you have these little strips. And you just kind of make it like so. All you need to do. That doesn't have to come out to a perfect corner. That's going to be covered. And if it doesn't quite cover it when you put the plate in there, just take a razor knife and very gently snip it. It cuts really easily. Okay, now we'll kind of get a measurement here. And remember to overlap it. Don't put it on the edge like this. Put it about in the middle, like that, so that it can be folded. Now this, you don't really even have to snip it. You can just cut it off with your thumb, like so. And in the joint, I like to make sure that those are going to stick together, so you won't have something sticking up all the time. And so, there you go. Now, it's going to lay down flat, like I know it will. And when that dries in a little while, you go into here and make your little, just touch here, 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 you know, just kind of, you'll have an adhesive. By the time that glue dries, then you might see a little place like that. Well, I take a little flat edge, just pull it out. Make sure it's flat. It's just a razor, but it's got a nice flat edge and it serves a couple different purposes. You get it good and flat like that. And when you're done, you put the output jack on there, you can just kind of go around and trim it. But don't cut through your paint. Now here's one sticking up that I missed, so I'll have to get a little bit of glue and put underneath there. Fold it over. Yeah. I think this is going to be interesting to see how that works out. If it actually, I have a noisy room here. When I'm playing a single coil, I mean, I don't know what it is, but something lights it up. Okay, now you see where there's a little edge like that sticking out there? Not quite. Just barely touch that. we got a nice little edge. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let this, while I'm letting this dry, you want to jump into it and get it done, but don't, because you'll end up moving the foil and it'll go everywhere. Let the glue dry, and then the foil will just bend over and take place. Now, what I want to do is find the pit guard that I'm going to use, and that will be this pit guard here. I'm going to go ahead and take this off the camera, and I'm going to bring up a pit guard. This is the one that I painted almond. I kind of got a stain on it. I'm going to have to go back and touch that up. But as you remember, I'm trying to debate. It's probably going to be easier just to take the stuff off and do the whole pit guard and trim it than it is to try to put a little piece here, a little piece there. So what I am going to do is take a screwdriver and start removing stuff. Don't put your screws in the glue. It really creates problems. Don't ask me how I know that, because it's kind of embarrassing. You would think a full-grown human male would have figured something out by now. But in all likelihood, probably not. Okay, now those, oh boy, those are stuck on good. So what I use is my trusty knob pullers. And I have to hand it to my fellow Brits. If I can find this tool that I've got laying in here, I will show you what I'm talking about. But as it turns out, I don't see it, so I guess that part gets edited. Oh, here it is. I bought this when I worked on British motorcycles. It came from Britain, and it's a neat pair of pliers because when you open the jaw, it stays square. I mean, and you can like grab that right there and give it a twister. And it fits lots of different sizes, you know, and like it's really fitting that one. Do that. See that? I mean, you can get to any size nut with that. You want any size up to, you know, that, which is pretty good size. I mean, hey, thumbs up to the British Brotherhood that did that. All right. I used to build, not build, obviously the factory builds the motorcycle, but I would kind of like mod a motorcycle like I'm doing a guitar now. I had a Yamaha 650 that I made into a cafe racer. I did an AJS British motorcycle, and that meant I had to buy British tools and all that. That's where I came across that thing there. Okay, now all this should just come right out. Right out like that. That's going to be real work. Good tight fit in there. Okay. Now, we don't want to lose our part, so I just stick these in the pickup covers. Screws. All that goes right in there. And then I'll move these over to the table. Make sure you get all your pickup springs. They can be lost very easily, as you know. Okay, now I've got a little bit of room to work here. I'm going to move my knobs over there. Oh, and that screw, I don't want to lose that. Goes to the switch. Alright, now I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to get a piece of foil and say, well, is that big enough? Is that big enough? I don't know if I can make it. No, it's not. So, what I have to do is I think I can make this work. I think there's going to be enough left over. Just kind of get a mold, and the more you mash on it, the more it kind of forms around it. Then you can find that little blade you had, like that. All right. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. Kind of follow that right along there, and voila, you got enough to do the horn. All right. Now, what I would like to do is take this little bit of glue I have in this tray. I'll need something bigger than a toothpick to spread it. And you would think I would be somebody that would just have some tools right here in my shop that would, should I need to do such a thing. Hey, while I'm on that, I want to show you that tool right there. Anybody knows what that is? Take a look at that. Look at that. It's got a little piece of sandpaper that goes around and around. You just move it like that. And when you're doing your frets, like that, you just do, a little $10 fret sander. I got it off eBay. Can't tell you where, but that's what it looks like. Comes with spare pieces of sandpaper that go right on there. Not to be, okay, when all else fails, just get your finger and do this. It doesn't take a lot, but you want to be sure to cover it pretty good, because you don't want any little piece of foil sticking up, coming undone, breaking the continuity. I want it all to be good. Yep, take a little time. Oh, and there you get a little hair on it with the carpet that I've got on here, but a little hair ain't gonna hurt anybody. Not from what I can gather. A little bit here, spread it around. Do this like that. You want a glob. You get a glob, you put it back on the edge of the tray here. The globs are hard to spread out. Look, there's my value. I made a comment about that earlier. The front one was 5.4 and these were 2.7. I don't get that. Why they're so different. But 2.7 just happens to be exactly half of 5.4, which I found to be another anomaly. Kind of strange, but you know, that's what the voltmeter said, so that's what I have to believe. Yeah, make sure you just cover this real good. You know, getting a spray glue is probably a good idea, but I don't happen to have one, and I'm just using what I have right here. And the only thing I do is clean my fingertip when I'm done. That's all I'm using to spread the good word, the glue here. Especially around these little pickup joints, you want to get a good amount right there. And this is just a wood glue I have laying around that I use for about everything. I mean, you know, pretty good glue. Just make sure on the edge and in your little corners here, you want to get the, when the stuff doesn't stick up. Alright, now we're going to take this, and now you remember how you had it laying on there because you had it molded. Kind of like so. Excuse me. Now you want to press that real flat on there. You get that as flat and as tight as you can and try to work out some wrinkles. And then in this joint, again, I'm going to do it like where these two are going to join together. I'm going to put a little piece like that. And make sure you overlap where the glue is. Like so. That way you got continuity all over here, everywhere you want to go. All the way out to the horn. Alright. Now, you just take the pit guard, flip it, like so. Take your little razor knife and go to work. And that's about how simple that is. Just don't let it move. You want to, right here, get all these little corners and everything. If you have a little bit hanging off like that, don't worry about it right now because you can always go back and trim that. The main idea here is just to get the whole thing covered. Like so. Yeah, so you've got it all covered. Now, before you cut your holes, go around and mash around the holes real good to make sure you got a good seal right there where your pickups are going to be. You don't want any what they call voids in there. You want to avoid the void. Get it out there as flat as you can get it. Now you can kind of trim it up. You can use scissors, whatever you want to use to trim it up with. But you see, you're going to have little pieces sticking up like that. Let the glue dry. Don't try to trim it. Are you there? Don't try to trim it before the glue dries. And what you're going to do is just start moving the foil. Now let it sit. Now, just take this here. Go along there. And you can hum while you do it. You can sing a tune. You can do whatever you want to do. Push that back. Alright, now these, obviously you could just take little screws or something and poke holes through these later and cut them off. But I'm going to let it go ahead and dry before I try to cut out any of this little trim stuff that I've got going on in here. Try to get it all out of this little cavity that's right in here, this little edge. You want all that gone because your pickup needs to be able to slide in and out of there, and you don't want it trying to lift up your paper, your foil, while you're adjusting your pickups. So that's how you do that. I don't know what else I can show you right now, because what that's going to do, I guess I'll give you a visual image. Kind of summarize the whole project here. Take some of this, put an old file 13, put that over there, over there. I know this is like really on the cheap. I mean, you know, you can buy coil, copper foil and do it. I don't know that it would be a whole lot better than this, or not. I don't know. I can't tell you. But I know that this is probably, like I said earlier, better than doing nothing and just letting the noise come through there. Interesting. That's my first one that I've ever done. So anyway, when you got the body up here, now you can see how that metal is going to lay right on top of that metal, like so. It's going to create a cage in there that theoretically outside interference can't come in and interfere with your delicate little single coil pickups. You can't play on position 2 and 4 all your life. You have to go to 1, 3, and 5 every now and then. And I see a spot where I missed way down in that hole. So if you miss a spot, like I'm looking down in here, I know you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to show you where I'm going with this. There's a spot here where I see some wood, and there's a spot right in here. So I'll take my little piece of foil here and just tear off a piece that looks about right. Take my glue, put a little glue on it, and just stick it in there. Mash it up with your finger. Nope. See how that stuff wants to pull up? You don't let that glue dry. But now that glue is kind of dry, go ahead and just fold that down. That one didn't have much to hold to. Do that one. Put that back. So, there we have it. A Faraday cage. Officially unofficial.